2014 was an incredibly interesting time for gamers and game companies as the 8th generation of video game hardware had been ushered in thanks to the arrivals of Sony's PlayStation 4 and Microsoft's Xbox One consoles. Yet there were still highly anticipated games being made for the last generation consoles as well, including the next attempt at turning a critically acclaimed animated series into a 12 to 15 hour digital experience. After many attempts during the PlayStation and N64 era at making a South Park game that was worthy of its resource material, it seemed fans of both games and the show wouldn't get what many hoped for: an ability to step into the fictional, insane world of South Park and revel in its chaos. But that notion changed in 2014 after Matt Stone and Trey Parker, the show's creators, contacted Obsidian Entertainment with their idea of a role-playing game based off of their infamous series. After 5 years of labor, South Park: The Stick of Truth was released to surprisingly high praise from everyone, including yours truly. With the announcement of a sequel that promised to be wilder and more uncut than the original, I was incredibly hyped for what could be one of the best gaming experiences of 2017. Not surprisingly, the Fractured But Whole doesn't negate all the wackiness that came before it by having the player take control of their own created character that is introduced to everyone as the new kid. The entirely silent protagonist becomes the focal point of not only the player's experience, but also the entire story as the kids of South Park move on from doing their best imitation of Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings to donning the superhero outfits we discovered they all had a few seasons prior, while attempting to cash in on the superhero fad that has made TV and movie studios millions of dollars. Like the last game, the Fractured But Whole sticks to the role-playing game formula, but switches things up by going a more tactical route. There are side quests, collectibles, and even a secret battle involving everyone's favorite freckled taco salesman. After nearly 25 hours, I turned my character as Caucasian as possible to conquer the game's toughest yet optional battle, after completing the main story on Mastermind difficulty to meet the criteria necessary to attain the Token Experience trophy or achievement. I also obtained all the collectibles necessary for trophy and achievement completion. Following a successful battle against a marvelous man who could charm any person around him for more than 2 minutes, I saw the Platinum Trophy pop on my screen for another totally completed South Park RPG. The Stick of Truth definitely set a new standard when it comes to licensed video games, as the series' creators did everything in their power to mix their love of old school RPGs with their most successful work on a mainstream level. Developer Ubisoft San Francisco switches things up when it comes to the battle system. Gone is the Stick of Truth's turn-based battle mechanics, incredibly similar to the time-based attacks of previous RPGs Paper Mario, Legend of Dragoon, and The Lost Odyssey. In its place is a more turn-based tactical scenario where characters can move around the battlefield thanks to the grid pattern shown anytime it's a character's turn. Thanks to the HUD at the bottom of the screen featuring information such as attack order, players can strategize what's the next best option to take when going into the figurative next round of battle. While the Stick of Truth's battle system was good thanks to the intuitive blocking system and its mostly pick up and play simplicity, the sequel is better in almost every way thanks to this change in battle presentation, as enemies prove to be a lot more difficult depending on the quality of the player's planning. Fights have the ability to last longer and be more tense, and the variety of abilities available to the new kid can allow for the player to be anything from a powerhouse to a supportive healer. Thanks to the grid setup, plays can be made where the characters are knocked back into one another for double damage, or even put in hazardous positions for a urine-filled water balloon attack that covers more than one grid. Status effects also return but aren't connected to gear like in the Stick of Truth, and are primarily inflicted by attacks. Similar to the previous iteration, the player can assign the new kid to a class that dictates what kind of role the character will play on the battlefield. Unlike the Stick of Truth, every class offers greatly different opportunities, and most importantly, the player isn't forced to stay in that one class throughout the entire game. The classes themselves pay homage to several superhero archetypes like the introductory options Blaster, Speedster, and Brutalist. As the game progresses, so do the class options, including more supportive roles like Plantmancer. Tied to each class is an ultimate move. While all the allies have a specific ultimate move, the new kid's ultimate move is determined by a specific class. A bar fills up at the top of the screen with each successful attack by or on the player. When the bar reaches 100%, the player can unleash an all-out attack that can do everything from brutally beating an enemy to death from that enemy's perspective to reviving fallen allies with the power of majestic queefing. Bringing it all together are the returning fart powers that the new kid possesses. While the previous game's farting technique centered on puzzle solving and magic usage in battle, expelling stinky gas from the new kid can do anything from rewinding time to make an enemy lose a turn, to even introducing a temporary clone of the new kid to fight alongside the original in battle, while clearing paths and solving simple puzzles when moving around the map. Fart attacks also need to be recharged during battle, meaning they can be only used maybe a couple of times per fight. Gear played a big role in the Stick of Truth, as adding patches and strap-ons to clothing and weapons would allow for stat boost, as well as the addition of status effect attacks. As noted earlier, status effects in Fractured are solely tied to specific attacks like the new kid's Fart Press that can gross out nearby enemies. Team Stat Boosts are now connected to the artifact system. These artifacts can help improve critical strike damage, health recovery, and how fast the ultimate move bar fills up. Associated with artifacts are DNA strands. DNA strands prove to be the new kid's sole stat booster, but can come at a price as each strand offers different limitations, such as becoming stronger might lower kids' health, or having the ability to land critical strikes better will impede Bronze's efficiency. While there is only one slot for DNA strands, multiple artifact slots open up the more the new kid levels up. For all the good the battle system provides, there are some disappointments. Thanks to the kids being superheroes, there aren't any weapons to be had here, outside of the one specifically connected to a character that can't be upgraded or changed. The lacking patches and strap-ons definitely take some getting used to, as they were a major implementation in the previous iteration that made clothing actually mean something more than just simply being around for aesthetic purposes. Summon attacks are also back, but severely lacking in effectiveness and entertainment. Gone is the absurdity of Mr. Slave turning an actual human into Lemmiwinks to save the kids from facing a sure death in battle, and in its place is Classy running a kid over with her car. And most importantly, the enemy variations are severely lacking. A majority of the time, the new kid and friends will take on 6th graders and Raisins girls with a few ninjas and crab people thrown in to mix things up. In the Stick of Truth, it never felt like enemy offerings got stagnant. One minute the new kid is slaughtering direwolves, the next avoiding gross Nazi abortion spewing vomit. The same can't be stated about Fractured. The boss battles, on the other hand, are incredibly fun and varied, nearly until the very end, that features so many infamous characters doing their very best to kill the new kid. Exploration is impressive, yet not as varied compared to the Stick of Truth. The town of South Park has been fully realized compared to its predecessor thanks to the lack of hardware limitations. Around the town are multiple collectibles including yaoi art celebrating the relationship between Craig and Tweak, member berries, and toilets that need to be pooped in via a minigame that can be somewhat challenging depending on the toilet. While filling out the new kid's character sheet, the player has the chance to take selfies with various South Park townspeople to gain followers, use the new kid's fart power to discover hidden places and items, solve puzzles and open up new paths, and complete the solid amount of side quests that can range from getting counseling from Mr. Mackey while explaining your gender to helping a gay fish send his mom to heaven. There is a shortage of special environments in this one, as a majority of the game simply takes place in the visible area of South Park. No alien spaceships, 8-bit Canada, or underground sewer searches this time around. But one of the most impressive things about the Stick of Truth wasn't its battle system or collectibles, but just how similar the game was to the actual TV product, being something of a love letter to longtime fans while delivering so many character-based jokes that a non-fan of South Park would still get a hearty laugh. The Fractured But Whole is funny as well, but obviously lacking thanks to one thing the previous iteration had going for it that this one doesn't: 17 seasons of unique material. When The Stick of Truth was released, South Park the TV series had 17 seasons and one movie worth of material to pull from that could be specifically used for this first-time experience. With a lot of the material used up in The Stick of Truth, The Fractured But Whole either sticks to a lot of what made the last 3 seasons unique, such as member berries, or go into the old bag for moments of diminishing returns like Crab People, an underwhelming redundancy like the explanation as to why the new kid has so many powers and can't speak. That doesn't mean there aren't several moments of sheer hilarity that stick with the player longer than the smell the new kid leaves when trying to stop time, such as Mr. Mackey trying to repair the Tweek and Craig relationship, Kyle's Jewish stereotype cousin, and the explanation as to why cops of South Park are so racist. The overall narrative lasts at least 15 hours and is mostly strong throughout, but there is a major problem: the ending. Not to spoil too much, but the game's final battle and overall ending rank up there as some of the worst in recent video game history, as the prior is ridiculously easy and the latter pays homage to the abrupt nature of the show itself when concluding a rather ridiculous yet enjoyable story. When the credits roll, it's hard not to feel like you've been trolled for 15 to 20 hours, something no one enjoys when playing a game of significant length. From a technical aspect, The Fractured But Whole not only looks like an episode of South Park, but at times looks better, even if it comes at the expense of the game's frame rate, at odd times when moving around the town. Glitches were few and far between for me, but the most distressing one has to be the autosave glitch that can happen at any time and won't allow the player to manually save. Thankfully for yours truly, I noticed it almost immediately and only lost a couple of minutes of gameplay without it corrupting my save. There are some minor sound and lip syncing issues that will leave out some of the beginning dialogue at times, so make sure you turn on those subtitles. The Stick of Truth truly set a high standard that The Fractured But Whole was able to surpass in certain areas: the battle system and a mostly strong story. Falls short in other areas like the overall humor and enemy variation, and stays status quo when it comes to side quest variations and exploration, producing a mixed bag of South Park fun that is incredibly divisive, just like the TV show's 18th through 20th seasons. Like its predecessor, The Fractured But Whole has some glaring problems, but unlike The Stick of Truth, those flaws don't come to the figurative surface until late in the game, including a lackluster final battle and an ending that will disappoint no matter who you are. But before all that, there's a fantastic experience based around a stronger battle system compared to its predecessor, consistent storytelling with some new ground lightly treaded, and hilarious moments aplenty, even if it doesn't produce the same amount of laughs as The Stick of Truth. For South Park fans and those who simply enjoyed the previous game, this one will be right up your alley. But The Fractured But Whole won't end up surpassing what came before it a generation ago. With that being stated, it's hard to give the game a full recommendation on the basis of the ending alone. RPGs are built on the premise of storytelling, and having an insulting conclusion definitely hurts the overall experience. The Fractured But Whole is a worthy successor to The Stick of Truth by capturing the essence of South Park the show, but in the end goes too far in honoring the resource material. It's definitely worth a purchase, but only when it's on sale, or when the inevitable complete edition arrives sometime next year, featuring all the DLC.
To get to the mayor's office and tell her we're on the case. Don't worry, Coon. You can count on Fast Pass to get there fast.
Well. Look at what we've got here. We've got ourselves a cisgender, heterosexual, black, American, lawful, Christian.
Dang, Cletus, why are you talking like that?
Dialogue tree.
Oh, I got you.
We don't take kindly to your types around here. I made it. Thanks for your help, baby.
I love you, Mama.
I'll see you soon, baby.
Yep, I'll see you soon, Wait, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? Mama!
Hold on a sec. What is that?